Welcome to the Art of Semi-Fiction.
I'm Jane Lee.
And I'm Robyn Miller. And today we are going to be...
Wait!
What?
I really want to get published. Can you tell me how I can get published, Robyn Miller?
Well, Jane Daly, I could tell you how to get published, or I could tell you 4 ways to make sure you don't get published. So let's go there.
Let's go
there. It is so interesting to talk to people who are so passionate about writing, but all the intelligence of going into their written word just seems to leave their bodies.
They're like savants.
They are. My husband and Ian and I have we have this theory that has played itself out. We have documented evidence. Everybody God creates has the same amount of intelligence. It just gets pushed into different categories. One of our children, for example, will cure cancer. She will not remember where she puts the data at all. So all is lost, but she is so smart and yet no common sense at all. So that's kind of what I think happens with writers. Oh. They can produce amazing, wonderful pieces of writing that have the potential to impact the world, Jane. And yet
they can't talk.
They do their best to not get published. So and let me show you.
What do they do to not get published?
One of the biggest things that I see people do is that they don't follow submission guidelines.
What?
I know. Shocking.
You mean there are guidelines for submission?
First of all, that was really cute. You ought to be an actress, I think. You are a rule follower, and I am, funnily enough, even though I am a free spirit, I'm a rule follower. I like to follow rules.
There are reasons for rules.
There are reasons for rules, and it's kind of
it
drives me insane when I think that people don't want to follow them. I mean, it's one thing to make a human error and not follow. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to intentionally circumvent rules that are in place. So,
what kind of rules are we talking about?
We are talking about the basics. If you're submitting to an agent, if you're submitting to a contest, if you're submitting to an editor or a publisher, I don't know why I said almost. They will all have guidelines. They will all have guidelines that you will be able to see. And those guidelines can be anything from you need to double space your manuscript, you need to have 12-point Times New Roman or Arial, graphics should be included, whatever. So the formatting, right to the submission date is open from April 1st to May 31st, period. That's it, the time frame.
May 31st at 12 o'clock
yes.
midnight. Well, and also they'll say something like, only send 1,500 words.
Yes.
So that doesn't mean you send 1,501.
Yes.
Really,
yes.
Truly, it means 1,500.
Yeah, even if a sentence ends in the middle of a sentence, you don't send one more word.
That's right.
Exactly. So the parameters, and also themes. A lot of contests, or if you're for example wanting to pitch to Chicken Soup for the Soul for grandparents of special needs kids, you're not going to pitch your horse story, unless it applies to grandparents and special needs kids.
Right.
So when I see people who think that, I know you said you wanted 1,500 words, but my 10,000 are so important that you need to see them. Or I know it closed on May 31st, but
my computer crashed and I couldn't get it submitted. So will you let
me?
So
it's October.
Yeah.
So if you circumvent all of those or some of those, here's what you're teaching an agent, an editor, a contest, a publisher. You're teaching them that you're not a team player, that you're not necessarily teachable, and writing is a collaborative process, but you're in charge of writing the material. But if you get agented and then a publisher picks up that book and gives you a contract, you are now under their guidelines. And if you don't adhere to their deadlines, for whatever reason, you can lose money. You can be penalized. You can compromise the publication of the project. They will also send you edits where you need to be able to say, okay, I'm collaborating to fix these issues. And so if you won't play by the rules and you don't think that you need to adhere to deadlines,
well, what you're saying is the rules don't apply to me.
Yes.
They apply to all you other people, but those rules, those submission guidelines, those aren't from, they didn't mean me.
Exactly.
Surely they didn't mean me.
Exactly. And when you've all heard those like weird stories about Mariah Carey needing white doves as she, comes into a venue, or whether they're urban, legends or not. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the diva that only needs blue M&Ms in a bowl by your bedside and the temperature of your limousine at 72 degrees or whatever. You want to be the person who is about the work of God and serving your writing, serving your audience, and being collaborative.
Well, and to be professional. You need
absolutely.
You need to be professional, and that's part of adhering to guidelines.
Exactly. And I will tell you, when you look at what the number of submissions that agents and editors and publishers get every year, it's thousands. It's thousands and thousands. So if they've asked for a query letter and 3 chapters of your book, and you send the whole manuscript and whatever else, they're going to automatically disqualify you. It doesn't matter how wonderful your writing is.
Right.
So if you don't want to get published, do not follow submission guidelines.
Okay,
that's
rule
number one.
1.
All right. Number 2, always send more than is requested.
Oh, always. So back to our 1,500 words. I'm going to send 2,000 words because I just couldn't figure out where to end the chapter.
Exactly. Or because it really needs to be heard.
Yes.
Well, and here's a cute little anecdote I've got for that. Recently, we all know that Jane and I are on the board of Inspired Christian Writers, and we recently were starting a pilot program for a critique group for advanced writers. Mm-hmm. So I put out a call and said, this is what I need. And I gave a few parameters, very simple. It was informal. It wasn't, it wasn't like submitting to a publisher. And I wanted a writing sample, but I wanted a small writing sample because obviously if it's a advanced group, we need to make sure that we have advanced writers in the group. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, nobody followed. There was out of all the submissions, all the responses to that, I think only 2 people followed the directions. And they were not, it was only, I think I only wrote 3 things in that email. It wasn't the list that you get if you were submitting to a publisher or an agent or something. And one of them said, I knew you'd want to read my whole story, so I just included the whole 80 billion words, whatever it was. And it was, if you're an advanced writer, if you're identifying as an advanced writer, this should be a lesson you already have well in hand.
Absolutely.
Well in hand.
If they say your bio needs to be 35 words, it means it's not going to be 150.
It means it's not going to be 36.
It's not going to be 36.
Yeah.
Figure out how to write your bio in 36 or 35 words, or don't send it. I mean, these absolutely. So
it shows them respect. It shows that you follow directions. It also shows that you understand the process. In this case, if every single person had sent what a couple of them did, I would have been having to read for about 2 or 3 weeks, business hours straight. And I don't have that time. That's not that I didn't have that time. So imagine, and I'm not an agent who is receiving submissions every day or a publisher who's sending, they may get 10, 15, 20 a day.
Oh,
so who has time to read, 100,000 words from each of those submissions every day?
Because on a nonfiction proposal, they're having to not only read the proposal, but they will say send 3 sample chapters.
Yeah.
They don't mean 5. They don't mean 10.
Yeah, and
they
you
don't
can't
mean 2.
And you can't fake them out by just putting 7 chapters in one chapter and calling it a chapter. Right. Be realistic and honest about it and have some integrity. Okay. But that's super important to always, if you don't want to get published.
If you don't want to get published.
Always send more.
Okay.
Yeah.
More is better.
Yes. And just so you know, we're tongue in cheek here, obviously, but trust that if you send the correct amount and they want to see more, they're going to ask for it.
Right.
They will.
Absolutely.
They absolutely will. And you will have already taken a step up over all those other people who didn't follow submission guidelines and sent more than is requested. You're already looking like a pretty good team player. So you're putting yourself in a better position. Okay, number 3 of a way to make sure you don't get published is don't pay attention to deadlines or dates.
Well, because they're just suggestions.
Really, it's loose. It's loose. It's just,
Because the publishing industry is just kind of like that.
Really, it is. There nobody works under deadlines in the pub. So it actually shows that you're flexible to
because that's Christ-like.
Yeah. that just cracks me up. It is amazing the number of people who think that a submission window is a suggestion. And not, I know. I mean, again, as a rule follower, I mean, we're and because you're a rule follower too, it's funny to us, but it also it does something to my soul. It just really makes me feel, I don't know, there's a pain that happens when I think people not following those rules and not thinking that submission windows or things are important. And I just think they just are. Well, they're just inherently are.
To give you a really good example, and this is in the publishing industry as a whole. If you get a contract for a book, they have a specific date in mind of when that thing is going to print. So let's just say that you got a contract today. It is April, whatever it is, May, whatever. Your book is going to print February of 2020. So they've already got it in the queue. They've got people lined up. So before then, they're going to send you your first set of edits, your second set of edits, your third. Then it's going to go.
They're calendaring the whole thing out.
They calendar the whole thing out. If you miss that deadline, that's
like dominoes.
Everything up.
Yeah, dominoes going down.
So unprofessional. If your boss said to you, "This report is due Monday," you better well have it done Monday.
Exactly.
It's the same thing
in
the publishing industry.
And they have reasons for these things. They're trying to, in a traditional publishing situation, a publisher's trying to make your book as successful as possible because the only way they make money is when your book sells.
Yeah.
So they're trying very hard to give your book all the attention, all the space around it so that they're not launching 50 titles in the same weekend. They're able to give their resources to making your book excellent. They're trying to make sure that it's not conflicting with other things that are being published because they've got an eye on who's publishing what, other houses are doing too. So they're really trying to make sure your project is getting everything it needs to be as successful as possible. So if you don't meet a deadline or something, then obviously you're actually shooting yourself in the foot.
Right.
But there's also, publishing has a cycle as well. And a lot of books are set to come out in the fall in time for Christmas. Not all of them. I mean, we have throughout the calendar year, but it is a big rush to finish up year-end stuff. So if somebody says open submissions are closing end of September, because then October, November, December, they're doing some final pushes of some book launches and tying up loose ends. And you say, well, I know that your open submissions ended in October, but
but boy, do I have something that's going to be awesome. It's going to rock your world.
Yeah. So you'll open that submission for me. It's disrespectful and it just doesn't happen. And you also have to think about, it's very easy for us to see publishers or agents or whomever we're trying to send something to as just sitting there waiting quietly.
They're looking at their inbox.
When is Jane and Robynne going to send something to us?
I hope they send it today.
Yeah. I mean, they're not, they're not waiting for you. They're busy people and they've got agents teach and they write and they travel and they meet with clients and they do all sorts of things. They attend writers' conferences. And they read 50 billion submissions and they cultivate the relationships with their existing writers. There's a million things going on that we don't see. So when they're asking for deadlines to happen,
they mean it.
They mean it because they know. It's kind of like if Jane and I are both busy people. I write and edit and teach and do writing coaching, and Jane's also, besides full-time writing, she doesn't sleep, this woman. She's also vice president of a bank. If I said, I understand all that about you, Jane, but I'd like for you to come at Tuesday at 2:00 and do something, spend time on my project. Your boss at the bank would probably say, but this is when you're supposed to be doing something else. So an agent and a publisher's we know when our windows are. You could say, no, I could do that on Tuesday afternoon. I could meet with you on Saturday morning, but because when you're open, when your schedule can allow for something else to happen. Same thing with agents and editors.
Well, and also going back to it shows professionalism.
Yep.
If you're going to be a writer and you're going to get paid for writing, you are now a professional.
Yeah.
Which is the very definition of a professional, is somebody who gets paid to do what they do. So if you're a professional writer, deadlines are important.
Absolutely. Okay, it's respectful.
How else can I not get published?
This is the last one. And I mean, there's a million reasons or ways that you can not get published, but here's one of my personal favorites.
Okay.
You should follow up immediately and frequently asking for updates. Because
we would never do that.
You have hit send, so they're
waiting.
They are waiting. 24/7, they're waiting. And if you do not get an answer within 10 seconds, I'd say write them again.
Right. Did you get it? Did you get it?
Exactly.
What did you think?
Exactly.
Did you like it?
Yes, because they love that. Mm-hmm. Agents and editors and publishers love that. And we're so taking the mic. This is so tongue in cheek, but you would be surprised at how many people don't understand how the process even works. So even if it's in its fastest possible incarnation of submission, and for example, we'll look at an agent. An agent is not only going to read your work, they're going to look at your platform. They're going to do some research about you. They're going to, if they happen to know that you know other people, they're going to talk to them and say, is this person easy to work with? Have you published with this person before? How did that go? They're going to look at other books that are on the market and even if yours is wonderfully written, it might be 1 in 10 that are coming out. So yours are going to be lost in that noise. They're going to talk to the other people in the agency because they're not going to have competing titles.
Right.
So
what would be a reasonable amount of time to follow up with someone?
My understanding is I would leave a lot of times an agent or for open submissions, a publisher or an editor will have actually on their guidelines. They'll say, don't call us ever. Don't follow. We'll let you know. If you have not heard within 3 months from us, know that it was a no. Mm-hmm. So sometimes there's never a right time to follow up. If you have a personal relationship with somebody, so you met somebody at a writer's conference, an editor showed interest in your concept, said, would you please send 3 chapters? You've done that. I'd say wait a good month, because
I was going to say 3 months.
Well, I'd say if you know them, if you know them, then just a quick email saying, just want to check in. Do you need anything else from me? And be, love and cookies, Robyn. That's enough. If you don't know them, so if it isn't expressly stated in their guidelines that if you haven't heard from them in a certain period of time, assume it's a no and move on with your life. If you haven't got that, then I would say wait those 3 months. And then say, I sent
XYZ,
a query letter, sample chapters, whatever you've done 3 months ago. And I just wanted to know if you needed anything else from me.
Have you had a chance to look? Something along those lines.
Yes, something, but here's the really important thing. Keep it as brief as possible. Don't remind them of the product. You could say the title. I wrote a book, a memoir on, when I did whatever.
Or you asked for a query about when we discussed blah blah at XYZ conference.
So give a title, give a location, and be concise as absolute possible so that you're respecting their time. Because again, you're still auditioning. And so show them that you respect their time, be very professional, thank them for even considering you, and be out the door. It should not be more than a few sentences
Mhm.
so that you are respecting their time. So if you do those 4 things, if you do not follow submission guidelines, if you always send more than is requested, if you never pay attention to deadlines and dates, and you follow up immediately, frequently, asking for updates, you are pretty much guaranteed that you are not going to get published. So if that's your goal, do that. If you want to get published, you might go on the opposite of everything we just said.
Good plan.
Good plan.
All right. You've been listening to The Art of Semi-Fiction, where we explore every corner of the written word.
I am Robynne Miller.
And I'm Jane Daly, and thanks for listening.
And
I always cut you off.
You always cut me off. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like kind of a little bit of this craziness, please like us and subscribe below.
Right there. Right there.